So as we transition into our next section of Ignite, which is keeping every lead, so lead follow-up. Now we're getting into like our expertise, like what we can offer and things like this. So that's where we thought Blake and NPI, so National Property Inspections, would be a great fit. Over the years, we've seen so many people waive their inspections, which is something we'll never recommend to our clients, but sometimes our clients fall in love with the house, but we got creative solutions. And again, all of the burden does not fall on their shoulders. So having great partners, like a great inspector that's gonna look at every detail of a house and give us an honest assessments, very powerful in our value proposition to our clients. And kind of take it away from there.
Yeah, I'm Blake. I own National Property Inspections. I have another inspector, Josh. He's not here today. It's just me, my wife, Josh, and then another, we have another admin office person that works with us. But we do residential, commercial. There's a bunch of information in there. If you scan out, there's a QR code on that little insert about our company. Basically, any inspection need that you have or that comes up, we can handle it. We try to be a one-stop shop, you don't have to call this place and everywhere else to get, any other kind of additional testing done. We can handle it for you or for your client.
Hey, Brian, can you give me a packet?
What's that?
Can you give me a folder?
I will, for sure. Yeah,
Thank you.
that's Jeremiah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll leave an extra folder. But I don't know if you guys have any questions. I like to put things back on you guys if you have any questions, because I know it's like, are you guys newer? Okay. So I don't know if you guys have any kind of questions or anything like that you.
So the big thing, understanding the purchase agreement and what it's saying about the inspection section. So he's and Josh will look for every nook and cranny, like, is this a working, not working? But what we're actually looking for are the major components of the homework, and it's the roof leak and furnace turning and things like that. But why we want a company looking for all these details, it's called the honey-do list, right? It's like, here's like little things about the house. You'll serve yourself really well with your buyers, setting the expectation a couple times along the way, what the inspection is actually for, what they're looking for. And then I always invite my clients to come out, not for the whole inspection, like the last 15 minutes. Because reading it on the page versus seeing it in person can be vastly different experiences. Yeah. So if we invite them for the last 15 minutes, the major stuff that he saw, we can actually go, this is actually what I'm saying. You get to see it face, with your eyes. You guys can make it as well. That'd be great. Not the whole inspection. That just gets in the third way.
Yeah, well, I say, and a lot of times, people come a little bit earlier and take measurements and stuff like that. That's perfectly fine. But yeah, like he said, we're not trying to like tear the house apart. We're gonna look at everything, but we're not gonna go in there and just like tear it apart and say, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Like, we're kind of gonna put a maintenance list together and then like a repair list, and then something that's more so like safety or like defective. And it kind of goes in like priority. So there might be a lot of little stuff on there. But if you, I don't know, educate, I guess, your clients a little bit on, hey, this is part of owning a house. This should be repaired sooner than later, and then needs repaired now. Just kind of go down through those steps. And we try to help break that down at a walkthrough as well, to try to explain like, hey, this is like, part of living in a house. This is just maintenance versus, hey, this should probably be repaired sooner than later.
So as you get your first few deals, definitely try to get to those inspections towards the end for that reason. And it was just a lesson I learned the hard way, my first few deals is, man, this inspection stuff is a pain, and you know what? And then it just came down, I'm just kind of the aha moment of like, well, I never really told my clients the purpose of this. So I had a lot of first time home buyers when I first started. So they didn't really know anything. I wasn't setting any expectation. As soon as I started doing that, I was like, well, so much better.
Right.
It's just kind of learning experience. So, Aaron, and there's folder who's got. So, if Myra wanted one as well, so. Yeah, perfect. Well, any questions for Blake before we get started on our session today? Appreciate that. Well, thank you very much.
If you guys have any questions, my contact information is on there. Feel free to call me, email me, anything. If you want to take time out of your day and come join us on an inspection, so you see how we do things. We've had several realtors do that just to kind of see the process.
Highly recommend if you can. And then I forgot you guys put this in your folders, this top 10 red flags for buyers. That could be what you put in your buyer presentation right there.
And we can customize those and put your contact information and like your information on those to give to your clients.
So that'd be great if you guys can do that, because again, it just helps you in that conversation along with just providing value to your buyers.
What's that? Sure. And, we provide that top 10 red flag, not to like scare people, but it's more so for you guys when you're going through a house and you're showing somebody a house. Kind of have those things in the back of your mind of like, oh, that's kind of, you know, looks like something we should have looked at.
Exactly.
That's all for.
I'll do it in person, see how much.
Yeah, I'm not remembering anything about. Text me what he wants to do. Do you have my phone number? Yeah. You
No,
want to start on-
I'll just walk over there with you. I have to say, if you don't need any more,
I think I'm good. Thank you
I
very much.
appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
I'm good,
Have a
thank you.
great day. Good luck.
You're fine. You got the posting for it. It got its own business, but- All right, I'll be right back. You want Starbucks there?
You know what, yeah. I'll walk there. See ya.
So as we get started, like I said, we're switching from lead generation. Now we're getting into lead follow-up. This is probably the most important section. All of these are important, but this is where the money's made. And Josh Brooks and I were actually just talking yesterday. And he just had this, he's like, I've heard this being said so many times. And then he had this experience yesterday, met somebody at an open house. Great conversation, picked up their information. On Friday, saw a house. He's like, man, this could kind of be cool fit for these people. Sent it to them and they're like, out of all the all the realtors, and they've talked to at least 5, you're the first one that's actually called us. And I always say this, and this was just the prime example, to stand out from the crowd in this business takes such minimal effort. And now is the prime example, like nobody's followed up, 4 or 5 other realtors, literally 0 follow-up. So it can be that simple. And it's gonna be a $500,000. So it's not like these people were spending chump change. They were actually spending a good amount of money and still no follow. So, and then it's not only gonna be just a purchase, you're gonna have to end up selling the house. And they have a nice lakefront. So you might have almost $1 million in billing by making essentially 1 phone call. It can be that simple. It's not always gonna be that easy. Sometimes it'll take a lot more than that. And that's gonna be the essence of these next few sections here. So today we're gonna be talking about keeping everything and diving into what that means. A good follow-up process will be next week. And then you hear us talk about relationships a lot. So 2 weeks from today, we're gonna be talking about strengthening relationships. Getting to know our clients beyond just, hey, you wanna buy a house, great. You wanna sell a house, great. We need to go deeper than that and build some type of relationship with them. It'll be different client to client. And then off of that, we've had enough conversations. Now we're gonna get down to qualifying potential buyers and sellers. So today's session, and this is not rocket science, so what is lead follow-up? We're gonna go into what we think we know what that is, but what it actually is, and how to follow up with them. Post lead follow-up, and then go over some recaps and ahas. So in your guys' guide, page 10.3. What is a lead? Just someone that's showing interest in the services you offer. And it talks about a one-way conversation. So if you remember all the way back to our very first session, a lead is somebody we've not engaged with yet. Maybe they clicked on an ad for an open house. Maybe had a very minuscule conversation at an open house. It was a busy open house. You got them the info, they signed in, and that was as far as it went. To me, that's still a lead. We don't know anything besides we said hi, maybe got a name, and we didn't talk to them again. Now, when we get to a good 2-way conversation, now they're no longer a lead. So that's why in here, it does talk about it being a one-way conversation. We don't know anything about them yet, really. We don't know if they're a buyer, a seller, both, an investor, maybe commercial. But here's the lead. This is the timeline. We see this in quite a few sessions here on Ignite. So on average, and this holds true for most clients, Every 7 to 10 years, they're looking to. So does that mean in the middle of that, those peaks, do we not talk about it? As we go through these next 4 sessions, we're gonna talk about having a process of talking to them here before their first move, and how to talk to them all through here before they move again. This is where most realtors drop the ball, and then this person will use a different realtor than when they were here. We have to stay in communication. This is how we build clients for life. It can be that simple. We did an exercise in last week's session where we saw how if we catch a buyer as a first-time home buyer, how that one client, just in their own business, can be about $75,000 in commission for you over a 20-year or 30-year span. So remember, this is on average, so we know a first-time home buyer is probably gonna be more in the 3 to 5 year range. So you sell them the house in about 3 to 5 years, they're gonna sell a house and then buy their move-up house. That's when we start seeing that 7 to 10 year window start being a little bit more accurate. Well, then they sell that house, which is worth a lot more, to buy even that next step. Maybe they buy a secondary house, like an investment property or like. And now I was just talking about them. Now we get into how to get referrals out of these people. So that one client can represent, almost $250,000 in business if we treat it. So lead follow-up is, the essence of our business. If we're not doing that, we're probably not gonna be in this business. And it just takes time to build up the confidence to do this. Because what's the biggest thing we hear from people all? I'm gonna be a bother. I don't wanna, I'm just pestering. I'm just annoying the crap out of them. If we're feeling that way, our messaging is probably just fine. Yeah, that's all there is to it. And that means we're not even confident in what we're telling them. That means we're not gonna be helpful. If we feel like we're gonna be a help and we can truly help them throughout whatever the process is gonna look like, then we shouldn't feel like we're being bothered. Keep that in mind as we work through these next few slides. Lead follow-up, a framework, so possible business. This is everybody. This is anybody to come across. This is, you're working an open house, you're running an ad, you're just wearing a KW shirt when you're out and about. We've had agents pick up clients by just wearing a name tag when they're out and about. And people are just stopping. I talked to Mal, she can show you. There's the red store, and she may have some up there. I know they've talked about ordering a bunch for you guys and just buying, but I don't know if they have yet. The hats, Lee has a few for sale, so. But this, look at the world's your oyster kind of thing. This is like, there's a ton of possibility out there. Then we dwindle that down to probable business. So conversations we're having. And then profitable business. We're actually running, because remember, we look at you guys as business owners. So how are you guys running your business? We're your support staff. So that's how we look at ourselves. You guys are the business owners. That's why we let you market, brand, and do all this stuff for you. But to run a profitable business, it all starts with lead follow-up. We talked about this numerous times. If you aren't first or second in their mind, you probably won't get the business. And I would even stop at that first, because I've seen this in so many stats of law, that the NAR puts out things like this, about 70% of clients, buyers or sellers, will transact with the first agent they meet. So they made such an impression on it that they just default to that first person. So if you're second or third in the door, your likelihood of getting the business dwindles drastically. So what does that say to you guys? Hopefully, we need to be reaching out constantly. Cause somebody else is gonna get in their gear. Do not put the follow-up ball in your client's. If you do that, it's gonna be tough. It is not our client's responsibility to follow up. That's the truth of the matter, because they're gonna be going to 10, 15, 20 open houses. Well, that's 10, 15, 20 agencies you're gonna be talking to. The one that they connect with is gonna be the one that they talk to time and time.
Training exercise. You guys look like good.
So how to lead follow-up, so this is where we're gonna spend a lot of our time.
A lot going on just right here.
Right.
First day.
Right here as the essence of a great follow-up plan. So again, leads, we've only had the one, that we've never talked to them, they've registered, we've met them in an open house or whatever it is. Here, we've talked to them, we've connected with them. So we've had a two-way conversation. Make your own version of this, but this is a pretty solid plan. So on the leads, quarterly phone calls. To me, I would make it way more than that. So a good plan of action, when they first come in, if you guys wanna write this down. So that lead first comes in. That first week, there should be 5 or 6 days in a row that you're reaching out to them. The problem with quarterly phone calls, that's 90 days between touches. So that first week, I 100% believe 5 to 6 times you're calling, texting, leaving voicemails, whatever it happens to be, even sending an email. Second week, go down to 4, third week, 3 touches, final week, 2 touches. Then after that, assuming that you've not connected with them, then you guys make a decision. Are we gonna stay with once a week, a couple times a week, or what's that gonna look like? Now, we're not letting them go. So let's dive in on what that would look like. Let's say we ran an ad for an open house and they clicked on that ad. We got their information and we keep trying to call them. What's our script gonna be? It's probably gonna be pretty basic because we don't know anything about them besides they clicked on 123 Main Street or whatever it happens to be, right? But the other things we should be doing, because obviously if we're just, hey, just calling, saw you clicked on the ad for this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And then. No. Get creative. Again, obviously that script's not connecting, go find other houses. Hey, you clicked on one like this, here's another one that just came. Very similar to that. And ask open-ended questions, especially on the texting. So we've been seeing a lot more results and responses when we're asking just good open-ended questions. Or very pointed questions with multiple options. So you click on my ad, my first response, hey, thanks so much for clicking on 123 Main Street, checking out our upcoming open house. Out of curiosity, are you looking to A, move immediately, B, within 6 months, C, a year or longer? Now you reply to that text message. Now, out of my whole pile of leads I got from that, you're gonna be at the top of that list, because now you're still engaging, right? You didn't just register. So think about those kinds of things. You're trying to create engagement. Trying to get them to reply as much as possible. And that could be different for each house and for each of you. But if you ask those engaging questions, now you can qualify your leads even further before you even pick up the phone.
Are you more likely to get a response from the text or trying to call somebody? Okay,
Just
sorry.
depends, yeah. It's a very age
Okay.
specific, above 50, they probably want a phone call. Just from our experience. They're under 30, they'll watch your phone call stop and then text you. You know what I mean? It's just nature of the beast. So,
Yes, that is so true.
Lee. Not it.
Sir.
You're open. You don't have to see them anymore.
Oh, okay. Are you sure? Undercover.
So today's command training is all about smart plans. You're able to highly recommend staying behind because we can automate these first few touches. That ask these questions. So you click on an ad and you register. You could have it where it automatically kicks these touches out, which also takes the burden off of you. And then all you're focusing on are the people that actually respond to maybe those first questions or two.
What app is that, Brian?
What's that?
What app is that?
Command, so that's once you get connected here at the office, that's gonna be our database that we set you up with.
Okay,
We
thank
call-
you.
We call it command, yeah.
No, I've
So-
heard about the man. I just didn't know if that was all tied into that as well.
Yep, it's all built into there.
Okay,
And then put them in your monthly emails if you send them out. So highly recommend having that monthly newsletter that just goes out. And now if you're feeling super creative, you can create it, or that could be something that you hire somebody to do. You can get those done pretty cheaply every month, you know, from like 30 to 40 bucks, and I'll send it out to your entire database. Then promotional touches, so that could be the calendars and things like that. And then if one annual event, and remember, this doesn't have to be an event you put together. This could be an event that already exists, you just have like a little area that you have all your clients meet you. So it could be a Three Rivers Festival. You know, just, hey, we're gonna be hanging out around here from 12 to 2. We'd love to see you guys, you invite them down, maybe offer them like tickets for the rides for their kids, like, hey, we'll give you $20 for ride tickets or whatever. Now, you're not paying to put on an event, but maybe earmark a few $100s for clients that RSVP. So don't think about, hey, that's gonna have to cost me $5,000 to do it. And you could take part in somebody else's event. A high value touch that solidifies a relationship. Generally, this is gonna be about the house or however you connect. An in-depth buyer consultation or things like that, where you're actually like, they got questions for you, and when you get them an answer, you keep sending them houses, they feel cemented to you, they feel connected to you. And now they're contacts. Now, this is where we get into the different buckets that we talk about all the time. So, from the leads and the cementing conversation. We got 3 things. They're either gonna be active, so 90 days or so. So those are gonna be people, they need to be on a safe search right away. Everything's gonna be about getting them into a house or selling their house. The middle bucket, that's gonna be the watch bucket. That's gonna be anywhere from 3 months to a year. So that timeline can vary, and they can be ready a lot sooner. So these are people you still wanna send home matches to, make sure they get pre-approved. But you wanna stay in touch with them, because a year can be a long time, but if they're 4 or 5 months down the road, they'll be here before we know. And then we have the third one called nurture, that's gonna be a year or longer. So in that, what we wanna definitely talk about is why? Why are we thinking a year, 2 years, 3 years? Sometimes it just kind of feels like that'd be about the right. Well, it's not a very definitive answer. We've seen those people move up a year or 2 quicker. So that's why we want to qualify. Then somebody's like, well, I really need to save up a down payment, had a rough go financially recently, and my credit score is way down, so it's gonna take me about 2 years to build it to where it needs to be. Great. That's gonna be a definitive, like, it's probably gonna be 2 years. Now, this is where our vendor partnerships can really help. So people like Doug over at Ruoff and things like that, they actually have software, they'll put your whole situation in there. So they can pull your credit and all your things. And they'll give you a step-by-step plan. That's the most effective way to get you ready quicker. So even prioritize which that's to take care of first, and you just literally go step 1 to step 2 to step 3. And it works really, really well. And again,
and
more
from Ruoff for the
emails.
pre-approval?
What's that?
And you said this is from Ruoff? like for the
A lot
pre-approved?
of lenders have it, but Ruoff is the, they're a great partner of ours. And they do a ton of our loans throughout the office, so, that's where we send a lot of people. But the bigger lenders like Chase, Ruoff, and things like that will all have that kind of software. The smaller credit unions may not though.
Okay,
But the idea of this whole thing right here, we're just saying what we call top of mind. They don't forget it. In the NAR stat, that blows me away every time I see it. About 80% or more of people within 2 years of buying their house forget the name of their agent. That means as soon as they got their commission check, they were gone, never to be heard from again. That is not how you build clients for life. Got your money, you ran, you never checked in on people, just nothing. It's tough. But there are a ton of agents. Think about Josh's example. Somebody looking to spend nearly $500,000, couldn't even get follow up. That's like $15,000 commission check. That could be made in a few phone calls. That still wasn't enough motivation. That's just crazy. That's not enough motivation for you to make $15,000 in 60 days. Or power to you. This can vary, but this is what we call, 19 to connect, 36 to converts the smart plan. Look at this concept of like, there's just a lot of touches here. Build your own version of it. Like, it doesn't have to be this exact, but build your own smart plan. This is where people don't think about this. What are my strengths and what's the weakness? I get in front of people, I can knock them. If I'm on the phone, I'm not as good on the phone. I know so my goal is to get in front of you, to have these conversations. But I can guarantee like 90+% of the time I'm over the phone, not as likely. So I know that's my strength. Working open houses, I love it. I do really well. I don't door knock well. Michael Vandergriff, that's a specialty, but he did that for years and years with Xfinity. So he's well versed. Dave Graney, same thing, he's done it for years. He's been doing real estate since the late 80s. So back in the day, there's no social media, there's nothing online, right? So you gotta go hoof it to get business. So he got really good at it. That's where you got just do an honest assessment of yourself. What are your skills? What are some reasons I might have for contacting the lead? We got their information some way, shape, or form, whether we're out somewhere, they clicked on an ad, we met them at an open house, whatever it is. That's how you're gonna start the conversations with your lead, just reminding them where they met you. Because again, we meet a lot of people throughout the day. So reminding them. What else should we be trying to find?
He was graduation.
These are leads, so we're probably not at that point
gotcha,
yet.
gotcha.
So we're still early on in the process. So we don't know much about them yet. So some of the reasons of contacting the lead would be, hey, we met at the open house, didn't get a chance much to talk, but hey, what brought you out on Saturday to insert address? Just, we're kind of bored, just kind of kicking the tires. When you say kicking the tires, what do you mean? Ask them, what about that particular house? Call for that. Just nosy neighbor. A lot of people throw those people to the side, like, just a nosy neighbor, like, well, if they find out their neighbor just sold for X, will that be enough motivation where they're like, maybe I need to move, because I know my house is nicer than mine. So in that reasons to contact them, try to just find out like what brought them into that element where you got their information, whatever that happens. And then that will turn into the motivation. And inside that conversation, and we're about to have another kid and or need more space. Well, how many kids do you have? Now you're building that deeper connection just right there, just by their answers. And then that's kind of a segue into, you know, parks nearby, a big thing and things like that. How am I using the conversations let the person I know I'm in real estate, how to contact me and how to refer business to me. So this one, I don't like how they worded this, but you know, it's, to me, that first part, to know I'm in real estate, reminding them how you guys are connecting. How did you get their information? That will remind them you're in real estate. I don't like the how to contact me, because that puts the ball in their court. So read it. When we're talking, what's your preferred method of communication? Call, text, email? So now I know the text. I'm putting the ball in my court. So I'm gonna stay in touch with her via text. So if she says text and I keep calling, it's probably just gonna annoy the Jesus out of me. Like, I told this text, and he keeps calling. And how to refer business to me. That last one just depends on how your conversations. We're kind of looking for our parents. We get that a lot, because parents maybe moved away, they're trying to move closer because now there's grandbabies or whatever it is. Try to get in connection directly with the parents as well. Not saying that the kids looking for their parents aren't a big deal. Obviously they are. They're like the eyes on the ground kind of thing. But referring business, like try to make that connection. And then ask for future business from other people they know. I would make that a little bit further down the road and not put that when they're a good contact. Let's focus on them first. Who here time blocks? Actually, time blocks and follows it. That's two different things. I know a lot of people have time block, but I know very few people actually follow the time block. And that's me included. We need to. Because what ends up happening? We log in, we have our to-do list in command. And we get two things in and then we let something distract us. I'd rather be doing this than calling all these people. That's just a distraction. We need to build that plan. I'm actually gonna sit down here, put my phone in focus mode. Everything's off, including my emails. We're gonna talk about bold at the end of this section. Inside of bold, they call it, basically barricading yourself. Barricading from all distractions. So whatever that happens to be for you. So you can focus. And if you take 30 minutes to make the calls, you'll be amazed how many calls you can make if you really focus. Lead generation for people and lead follow-up makes it seem like such a task. And it is if we don't barricade our time. Because not everybody's gonna answer. So if we make 15 phone calls, if you get 7 that answer, that'd be a pretty good day. Because again, people may not recognize the number, they may be working, they may be busy. So you have actually, 5 to 7 conversations, 5 minutes apiece, there's 25 minutes. But you reached out to 15, 20 people. So this is gonna be the essence, even from day 0, and just kind of getting back into it and kind of your first month or 2 in the business. Because if we don't build that system now, if we wait till we're drowning in leads and in business, that's gonna be really hard to then get going from. How much time should I take to reach out to a lead? What will I do to hold myself accountable? What do I need to make sure this happens? So how much time? Until they tell you to get there. We did a class last week and they said, until they buy, until they die, or until they tell me bye bye, or something like that. It's like, so until that client actually transacts with you, they literally die, where they tell you never contact you. So there is no such thing as a bad lead. I don't care if it takes 3 years for you to connect with them, until they tell you to hit the bricks or they buy with you, keep reaching out. And that doesn't mean every day, that doesn't, anything crazy. Even if it's just a monthly email because they're in your newsletter. Just let that speak for yourself. What will I do to hold myself accountable? Just like to go around it, so we'll start with you, Jesse. just look at your life in general. What's the best way you've ever held yourself accountable? Is it somebody else? Is it you? Is it like, what's worked the best for you?
Definitely someone like paying attention. For me, my wife works from home, so she'll be there to.
Yeah.
yell.
I journal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to track everything to make sure that I'm in the right space of mind.
Okay. I like it.
What's the question?
So, when you kind of look at your life just in general, when you've held yourself the most accountable, or like you've been held accountable, what's been the system that works best for you? Is it you yourself, so journaling, somebody else holding yourself accountable?
Yeah, I would say it would have to be me holding myself accountable, which is really hard to do sometimes.
Yeah.
But there's nobody else, so I gotta do that.
Maybe you guys can partner up on that, hold each other. Because if you already know that's like an area, it's like, just have that one person, it doesn't have to be somebody in real estate. It's like, hey, you know, you guys come up with that goal, somebody that's able to be brutally honest. Respectful, but brutally honest.
Right.
I would say probably a mixture of holding myself accountable, and constantly making that first step. So I feel like when I make that first step, then the other stuff kind of like comes that you kind of gotta just like do in order. So it's like doing that one thing kind of just opens up like everything else. So, but it's just getting to do that one thing. So it might be, like this morning, I'm sitting up here dreading. Yeah, I know y'all don't know the situation, I'm not gonna get all into it, but I'm dreading like, man, medical benefits, you know, for free. And I'm like, where do I go? And I'm sitting up there calling my accountability people, whatever, and to just go there. And I'm thinking it's gonna be, well, man, it's gonna be an hour, and I'm not gonna be able to come here and stop at the office, and I'm thinking of a million excuses why not to go today. And then I go today, well, we got an appointment set up for you, what's the best time for you? It's 1 o'clock tomorrow, where I was like, yep, that's perfect. And it opened up everything else, so just making that first step all the time opens up everything.
I would say, yeah, myself too, or, and like keeping a calendar, because I have a lot going on and it's like so easy to just get distracted. If I have to like literally put everything in writing.
So there's a bold law says if it's not on your schedule, it doesn't exist. So that means if it's on your schedule, you don't get to it today for whatever the reason, move it to the next day. It's gotta be done. So move it. But be careful about putting too many things on your calendar, because that can just seem overwhelming too. So there is that fine line of like almost too much on there. So Jeremiah, how do you hold yourself best accountable? Is it with somebody else? Or?
No, I'm definitely, I take my own accountability, my own steps. It's usually initiated by me, fueled by me, and accomplished by me.
All right.
My daughter tries and helps, but it's also from a kid's point of view, so she really doesn't know, but it's me.
Yeah. So in our last bold that we did, the bold instructor talked about this, one of the people he had take his class. I don't know how I feel about this one, but I'm just curious your guys' thoughts. So their kid at the time was about 10 years old. Like, hey, at the beginning of the year, they said, if I do X amount of deals, I forget the number, it was big numbers, like 70 deals. We'll take a vacation to Disney World or Disneyland, one of the business. So every day, how did yourself? Man, I don't know about like, because well, if you don't, then you gotta go to your pen and be like. I did 65, so you're going. I don't know, I was just like, man, that's just like opening up a door for some disappointment, but I was like, if that works, and you got that kind of relationship with your kid, I guess, cool. But that made them feel the power of like, I cannot let this person down. So I'm gonna jump through fire to make sure it happens. And that's where it's like, that's the kind of accountability that you need to
And
make.
for me too, like reminding myself why I do the things that I do. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I was gonna
there are
say,
days when like, oh, I don't know, I don't even know why I do this stuff, you know what I mean? Like, you have to remind yourself constantly.
There's gonna be some days you definitely feel that way, yeah. What was that, Jamira?
kids are definitely a motivation.
Yeah,
You know, so like, I'm motivated to go and sell these houses because he's doing this, but as far as holding me accountable, I don't see that as the same.
yeah. Agreed. Yeah, I think it could just open up a whole different set of issues, but again, find something that works for you. And then that's gotta be a person that's not afraid to be brutally honest. It's gotta be that kind of relationship. So if they're afraid to say something, then it's not gonna be a great accountability. So inside of here, this will be on page 10.6. This is gonna be our big walkaway. I want you guys to work on as the week goes on. This page right here. What's your own 19 to connect plan? And again, 19 is just a good number. And remember, this might stop at 2. Because you connected with the person, you had a great conversation, so they went from a lead, so this is, we haven't talked to them yet, this 19 to connect. Remember, it might stop at 2. We gotta remember, especially if you build an automated smart plan that's doing stuff automatically for you, to stop that smart plan. Because now we've talked to them, we know this information, then we gotta move them to the plan that we're gonna talk about next. But what does this look like for you? What works in your day? What are you willing to invest inside of this? And there's a lot of automation, so as you guys think of these things, there's automation that can happen. So marketer folks, so if we know their address, we can have command automatically send out a neighborhood snapshot. That just gives them a monthly update of their neighborhood. Hey, this many houses sold nearby for this average price, this many days on market. It's great that that's automated, because that might be just enough to like nudge them like, probably can, let's take advantage of this. And the informative videos that you see on here, I think the more effective one is you putting yourself on a quick video. So literally just you on your phone. Say, I wanted to check, and it could be something you make generic, you can send out to a lot of people. Or while you have a few clients, you could make it custom to that person, and then you send that video. So instead of a text, it's you putting yourself on video, sending it to them. Then they see your face, they hear your voice, they hear your tone. Because text messaging can be construed very wrong, because tone doesn't come through in text. So kind of use this. And this is gonna be something that evolves as your business grows, as you grow as an agent. But just find something that you'd be like, I'd be proud to put my name on this. And I feel comfortable that this is going to work. And I'd say, start just some ideas, like just whiteboard, like there's no bad ideas kind of phase right now. Like just anything and everything that comes to mind for like a day or a few hour block or whatever you works best for you. And then take that and then start formulating a plan. And where this could be different for different types of clients, you could take that a step further. So when you look at your business and what you want to focus on, investors will be a completely different connect plan than a luxury home buyer or a late home buyer or first time home buyer. So that's where you kind of look at the business you're going to be looking at for a majority of your business. And if you're not sure, then just do a generic like home buyer kind of mentality. And then as time goes on, you can modify this for those different sets of clients. Like we've been doing a lot of commercial deals with, I don't know, just like all of a sudden, just the office in general, we've got about 5 or 6 really good commercial deals. That's something we've never really specialized in. So I think it's just virtue of being around for a while now and bringing different agents, but like research has sold a small chain of Jiffy Lubes up in Auburn around there. And Scott just sold a medical place out southwest, and I just sold one down in Peru, like a commercial package.
How you guys doing?
I sold it yesterday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So that's where, figure out what your main core is gonna be here in the beginning, and then as time goes on, just modify it. But just understand different set of clients. Again, a luxury home buyer is gonna be completely different circumstance wise, what they're looking for versus first time. First time home buyer just wants a safe house that's kind of in the general ballpark of an area they want. Luxury home buyer, they're gonna want certain kind of siding, or the outside of the house be a certain way, or the landscape will be a certain way, because they're spending 800, 900,000, $1 million. Whatever, so they're gonna be a little bit more, picky. And there's gonna be a lot less options. Make an impact. We talk about value propositions all the time. Just had a class led by Gary Keller on this past Thursday. We're gonna do a market center viewing on the 26th, I think, of this month. And it's the higher ups at KW talking all about value proposition. Be a great class to come for. It's on the private page at RSVP. Feel free to come along if you want, because it'll be great just to kind of understand, how this works, but it's the why you. Why should I use you? 1,700 realtors in the area. Why, everybody knows 3 to 5 realtors. So why am I gonna use you? For you. But remember, our Upstar MLS, which is our local board, the average 2.1 deals a year. So there's not many people doing it at a high level. Like people making a good income from this are probably about 300 deals. So again, standing out from the crowd takes such little amount of work. And then personal communication, make it seem custom to them. It's so easy to do.
So the agents that actually does really, really good, what do you think they have that others? What's
They
the,
make it all about the client. It's not about them. That's been the biggest thing. It's like, and they're not afraid to be honest with their clients. Megan and we did his one-on-one this morning before this class. He's got a client looking to spend about $100,000, but she wants it moved in. So they keep going to these houses. Too much work's needed, too much. We just need to be brutally honest. The answer. If it's under, these days, if it's under 175, you can even make a case under 200,000, it's gonna need work. And at 100,000, it's probably gonna need a boatload of work. So let's just have this honest conversation. It's like, you say you want this, but then your budget's this. We have a massive gap here. So what's our focus on? So we gotta be brutally honest, but respectfully. We don't wanna make it seem like we're calling them an idiot or making them feel bad about their financial situation. If all she can afford is 100,000, we'll sell it to her. We just need to manage expectations. We never say no to the deal because that's all they can afford. You will hear the agent say that. Everybody's got there's something going on in everybody's lives. Maybe they're gonna be the first home buyer in their family. Everybody in their family's only ever rented, and they worked their tail off to afford that $100,000 house. Why wouldn't you want to be a part of that journey? So we don't judge, but somebody in that case, even if that is her situation, their situation. Saying you rent this, but you can afford this, we need to bridge that gap and really get them focused in on what's important. Again, we won't sell your house that's unsafe, but it may need a lot of work. But structurally, it's not. It's a safe house. Again, go do our inspection stuff, right? And at the end, statistics and data. Just know your market. Again, if you're just focusing on Fort Wayne, know what's going on in Fort Wayne. If you're on service northeastern Indiana, so you're going to go up to Angola, Auburn, down to Decatur. As you work in those different areas, understand what's going on, because it can be vastly different Fort Wayne to Decatur, even though it's about a 30-minute drive. So understand those markets. And then again, if you're gonna be a first-time home buyer specialist, understand that. What's important, how can we serve them best? And it says here, look beyond the who when you contact. The most basic way to start doing this is to craft your message based on the source the lead was generated from. We talked about that a lot. And then that's what you can use to customize your value proposition to that person. And then build from there. So again, let's say they clicked on an ad for an open house. Our value is, let's get them, let's get them the best opportunity to buy this. And I'd call you came in on my leads, I'd call you, hey, Brian Keller Williams, just give me a call about 123 Main Street. Saw you clicked on our open house ad, hey, just out of curiosity, what caught your eye about this? And you kind of dive into that. Now I'm gonna use that as my mechanism for the rest of the conversation. Oh, just, the front looked really pretty, so maybe click on the ad, or, the backyard, we need space for our growing family. Yeah, where are you guys at? Do you rent, or do you want? What's your time frame for making a decision? Just go out and see the house in person before the open house, so you got enough time to just kind of look through it yourself. Then I'll wrap it up. So I'm offering all these services to you. That's gonna be my value, because I know something about that open house. I spoke to you, and I'm always gonna offer, let's get you in before the open house. So maybe you write a compelling enough offer, the seller doesn't even go through with the open house. So you got to beat a whole bunch of people to the punch. There's my value in that situation. Then I'm gonna make that whole conversation about you. It's gonna be nothing about me. I'm gonna try to find out as much about you and your family situation, so I can customize everything to that. And I wanna ask, do you rent or do you own? Why do you think that? Because I wanna be able to list your house, right? If I get the list your own, then now it's even more deals for me. That's where if we can look at it in that fashion, it'd be really great. So you buy, great, I already have that listing. Well, now I got two sides, because I represent the buyer and the seller. Now I get to sell your house. Well, there's three deals. What if I doubled with your listing? Well, there's four. Well, my original sellers that you're buying their house, I gotta still go sell them house. Right, there's 5 deals. Just from that one conversation. It can grow that quickly. The lead sources. This is a very minuscule list overall. What we're calling? Profits. We're just cold calling. That'd be calling out. Past clients, so about them or anybody they know. The community event, I just talked about this. Open houses, that's gonna be one of the cheapest and most effective ways to meet people. They're cold leads, but I like to call them more warm leads, because they're gonna transact one way, shape, or form. Something about that got them interested. Social media marketing will be second on that list as far as affordability. Traditional marketing, that's gonna be postcards, billboards, things like that. That gets into a little bit more money, but can be effective if you have the right call to action. Purchase leads. So we always teach, make money before you spend money. To revenue before expenses. So this would be something maybe down the road, you start partnering with like realtor.com or some type of lead source to bring leads in. Homes.com offers this as well. Sign call in. That property I just got under contract yesterday, I had a handful of people call in from just the signs. So look at your signs as a marketing. Don't make them so generic looking people just drive by. Make them pop. Have the colors that you want. Again, I've seen people here, even though our colors are red, black, and white, they had pink on their signs, or purple on their signs, or whatever. They just made it fit. Put your photo on there. Our logo has to be like a little postage stamp. That's all you need on there. Everything else can be about you. A blog or newsletter, and I'd recommend if you're gonna do the blog idea, post that on social media, because that will start gaining traction there. And I love on the right-hand side, statements or questions. Number 2, hey, tell me more about them. Have them expand on most things that they're telling you. It's a very powerful question. Because it shows to clients that you care. You're trying to learn more. You're not just trying to make a quick sale. But then consider the lead sources you already have in your database. It's gonna be your phone, people in your phone, the people are already following you on social media. So when we're talking about marketing on social media, it doesn't have to be running ads, it could be just talking to people that already follow you. I've sent this out numerous times, like 150 ways to prospect. You guys should all have that from one of our first Ignite sessions. And even that's just a basic list, but it was just, I sent it out just to get kind of some creativity going, and you guys can kind of just look at that list and be like, oh, this is, oh, here, I want to do this. So find what works in your schedule and then time block it. For social media campaigns, you can schedule those as far out as you want. So you know, this week I want to talk about these things. Create the ad when you're feeling creative and schedule it for that week. Don't have to wait till the day of to create that ad. So carve out time to sit there and create the ads. Hey, I know I got a listing coming up. Start crafting that ad now and then start it as soon as your listing goes live. By and large, the house will drive the action more times than creative marketing will at least get your name out there, but people will interact more with when we're talking about houses. Post lead follow. So this is gonna be in your guide. And I have that. So this.
We have it on 10.8. Oh, I guess not that.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't have the funnel though, but. So that funnel on the right-hand side, that's from the MREA book. And what I always like to point out, look at the very bottom where it says new and repeat and referrals, and you can see there's a little arrow that takes you all the way back to contacts. So it's an infinite loop that we're on with our clients. So at the very top, we have lead capture, so that's prospecting and marketing. So whatever you're doing to get the word out about you and your business, that's what's bringing the people in. Then they come in at the top of the funnel as a lead. Now you finally talk to them, so they move from lead and then they slide over to the right to contact. So now we've got a two-way conversation. We know at least a little bit about them, what they're looking to do in their situation. And then step 3 is cultivating. This could be 2 days worth of time. This could be 2 years worth of time between you first talking to them and them transacting. But we need to be able to build that system for that entire process. And then once they finally do transact, we need to stay in touch with them, asking for referrals, asking for repeat business. So we put them back in contacts so we can stay in touch with them. That's how we're going to build clients for life and repeat business and referral business. And then number 3 on this slide, cementing the relationship. So what are you doing besides asking for the business that's going to show your value, your true value to the client, where they're not going to go anywhere else? And you'll see these relationships at open houses where as soon as you start talking to them, right? Oh, I already am using Aaron as my agent. Great. You know, who's Aaron? You know, just try to dive in. Just to see if they're really talking about an agent or if they're just trying to push you off. That's the kind of clients you want, where they're speaking up, hey, I'm good, I already have my representation.
What do you do if, let's just say somebody doesn't know you're a realtor, off the bat, like you do business with them or something like that, and, they say, they mention something about a house. It'd be easier like this. So I had my daughter get her hair done the other day, and I've never met this person before. They came recommended. So little relationship kind of building right there. Then a report. Then she said something about like, I was like, oh, this is nice, you know, pretty nice house. I was like, are you renting? You know, I was like, are you renting? Fine. She was like, rent to own or something like that. Or I wanted to, but I was just doing on this one. So long story short, I find out a lot of information and I find out she's, her cousin's a realtor. She was like, oh yeah, I was gonna go through my, cousin or whatever. And I know her cousin. But she kind of, you could tell it wasn't like a cemented, it was just more so, I know him, I'm related to him. So that's basically kind of like where I was gonna go. but obviously there's no contract or nothing like that. How do you handle that? Because she asked, she said, are you in? And then I said, yeah. She was like, oh, wow, you know, so it was like, kind of like that type of energy. How would you proceed?
So the other potential realtors are cousin.
Mhm.
So a couple of different ways I approach this. One, just being straightforward, it doesn't seem like you're necessarily dedicated to using your cousin to realtors. Is that, am I correct in that understanding? And then you can kind of go into, yeah, I'd love to help you. The other angle is like, you know, hey, sometimes we do get people that don't want to use their family because if the deal goes sideways, it can cause some conflict, and some people don't want to enter that right into the middle because it can muddy up that relationship. And you can even say that about close friends that are realtors too. So, you know, hey, I'd love to represent you. And then use that as, tell me a little bit, so you thought about renting that home and now you're not thinking, you know, what changed? Dive into that. So now we're getting into their motivation. And they can use that to keep going down the path. And then ultimately, because you're in that situation, you probably can't just focus in on the conversation as a whole. Asking for that actual meeting is how I wrap it up. But remember, people like talking about what we do. We're not selling life insurance where people don't want to have the conversation. So a lot of people won't have that conversation. And that, I approach it one of two ways. I would just kind of feel it out. Right, what I'm hearing you say is you're not necessarily dedicated using this person, you're not contracted. So, because I'd love to help you achieve this goal and then go into what that goal looks like.
Right,
Yeah,
and I would add, on piggybacking on that point is, hey, listen, I don't know if you want your cousin, to know all your personal business and everything that's going on, I know a lot of my clients. Or I might even say, I know my cousins who may feel like they don't want that to happen, and I certainly respect that, so. Yeah, you don't want to jeopardize the relationship with your cousin, maybe you plant the seed that maybe they don't want their cousin to know all the business. And that might be that, and the work with you, and I might even say, if you say that, I can be willing to pay them me too, and then it's a win-win.
I like that
At
idea.
the end of the day, you're trying to offer a solution. And then you find out quickly, hey, I have to use my cousin, I don't, you know, you're moving on. But
I like that referral part idea because, you know, obviously the cousin is, you know, sometimes the cousin or the aunt or whoever's the realtor doesn't really pay attention to the cousin, or they're not following up doing any touches or anything like that. But that same realtor will be upset when it's closing and they see their cousin.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen like a lot. So I do like that, the referral one, because then that realtor knows that you don't have to do that at all.
Right.
So I like that. I never heard it.
that's where sometimes I've seen, actually, client I have under contract now, there's a very close family friend, now it's a realtor, the first time they felt like they never got taken seriously, they're like, hey, this is just easy money. And all this, not whether it was true or not, I mean, it was just their perception of the situation. You know, so sometimes in those situations, when you're related or really close friends, like, the realtor almost takes the relationship for granted. And that's not a good situation either. So, again, on 10.8 is where this is on yours. So get the door open to the two-way conversation. So again, they're a lead, you finally connect with them. Now you need that one to submit. Again, they're gonna tell them about the service you provide, help set up a conversation for later. So again, being bold enough to ask for the appointment. Serve as a reminder of your interaction. So again, if you met them somewhere else very quickly, again, that passing where it's not even enough of a two-way conversation. What's that gonna do? And again, that's where, when you're preparing to call somebody, have that kind of scripted out. I used to put bullet points down for like where I wanted the conversation to go to kind of keep me on task. But be prepared, like, hey, they're gonna answer, this is what I wanna talk about, and here's kind of my roadmap for this conversation. Then if they answer, I'm not caught off guard. And then inside of those bullet points, I'd always put, okay, what's their potential objection? or two. For if I do get them on the phone, so I can be prepared for that. So I take a couple minutes before each phone call, and kind of jot those things down. So then I can be as prepared as possible. If they don't answer, I could keep those notes for the next call. But the options for your one to submit, it's going to vary based on the situation. And as you prepare for these conversations, give me a call. We can talk through that. Like, what could that be for this particular client? It could vary. It's going to vary on where they came from, what you've already sent out to them. Because we don't want to sound like a broken record. And we're always saying the same thing, because maybe that's why they haven't responded yet. Something about that hasn't connected with them. So, success system, and then we're going to kind of recap all of today's session. And this is a perfect way to talk about today. Have 10 new conversations. Add 10 contacts to our database every day. Send out 10 handwritten notes every week. This could be, you see somebody's birthday's coming up on Facebook. It could be a, sympathy card, a get well card, just, hey, thinking about you card. Somebody's anniversary at the holiday, send out cards. Then engage in social media. So on each social media channel you're on, like 10 posts, love 10 posts, comment on 5 people's posts, and then make one of your own unique posts and share a post. That just starts working the algorithm. But the biggest mistake, especially on your posts and on your comments, is you don't pay attention to people following back up. So you put out a post. That's great. People comment and they never hear from you. Don't do that. You want to engage. Again, now they're interacting with you. Keep the conversation going. And enrichment. So come to things like this. Keep coming to trainings. And like I said, on the 26th, come to that value proposition that Gary Keller's leading. It'll be a Zoom. We'll have food here at the market center. I would feel this here watching. If you look at it this way, I engage every conversation in the spirit of contribution, and people are happy to be in a relationship with me. It's almost like an affirmation for yourself before making calls, but you need to look at every time you reach out to your clients, that you're actually contributing to them and not just begging for business. Again, if you feel like I'm just pestering this person, then let's talk through it. Let's see, what was our message going to be? Why are we feeling that way? My assumption by and large has been true. That I've talked to people about, it's like, our message is just off. That we don't know quite what to say, so all we're really doing is just, "Want to buy a house yet?" kind of conversation. And that's not a great angle to take.
That's my struggle. I feel like I'm pestering.
Right. So, but as time goes on, let's keep talking through that. And then as the conversations happen and you start seeing successes, then that feeling will slowly dwindle away.
And I'll probably reiterate that a lot, because I think we all had that feeling like lost and stuff like that. That, I promise you, that is really a mindset thing, because if you go in it thinking that, almost like you're doing them a favor calling, like by calling, that changed everything. And you almost, I don't know what the energy is, you just feel like a whole different energy. Yeah, like completely. So, I mean, maybe just checking ourselves and checking our motives and different things like that before calling, I think kind of goes a long way.
So here's a question I like to ask on that. So think of, and it does not have to be realistic. So think about something you bought at some point in your life. Could be a car, could be a house, could be a jacket at a department store. Salesperson came up and you're just like, I don't want to deal with this person. But the way they talk to you, something just clicked and you ended up buying. Can you think of a situation for that? Where you just, like you saw the person walking. Or
It's
they,
their energy for sure, and like their engagement, and for me.
anybody else?
The posture, like they're not desperate to sell you something.
Yeah.
They're there if you need them, but they're like kind of like actively there, like attentively there, like wait.
Anybody else have a situation like that? But for me, it's the same thing. It's the energy they come up with. They seem like over the top, like just overly energized, I'm like, oh. Just too much,
Yeah.
you know, so that's where you gotta be able to read the room. So you call somebody, you hear that it's 5:30. You hear, it sounds like they're making dinner in the background, you hear the kids going crazy. You keep the conversation. Hey, it sounds like I caught you at a bad time, but how about I give you a call tomorrow about me, would that be? Yep, okay, great. Cause if you just try to pester them, like you're trying to get that, cause they're like, hey, I wrote it down, I'm on half the script. Then all you're gonna do is annoy them, and they're never gonna answer again. So you gotta be able to read the room on this.
I think another big thing too is knowing your own value. Like, if you come knowing that you're valuable, then that's another energy I think that they kind of pick up on. Like they'll see your name and they're like, oh, I gotta get this. Instead of, oh, no.
Yeah.
So like, you feel that too.
And because some of these, so if you go all the way back to one of the first slides. Leads, even if we know how they got into our database, we don't really know anything about. So you try this approach, doesn't work. Don't give up after once, like especially if they're not answering. But you feel like, hey, this approach isn't working. You gotta be able to deviate it. Again, that's the reason we're in. Maybe they do, like you start talking to them, they're super high energy, they probably want you to match that. You gotta just be able to adjust on the fly, even mid-conversation. You gotta be able to adjust. You know, once they're contacts, you already know, like, hey, when I talk to this person, this is how I need it to get. I need to text them, not call them, or whatever happens to be. Even about the hours they work. So if they work third shift, should you be calling them at 9 AM? Probably not, because they're probably sleeping. And because they just got off work. So understanding even these like kind of details about your client's life. And this just gets into a really good buyer presentation or seller presentation, understanding what their life looks like, what hours are best to communicate. Well, any questions before we wrap up? Well, thank you guys.